Welcome to Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your life on your terms. I'm Sheila Mack, your host, and today we have special guest Ahron Glazer. Ahron is Chief Marketing Officer and Executive Media Solutions, brand builder and storyteller. He's a podcast host and a creative strategist. Ahron has been in leadership for more than 15 years and worked as a C-level in marketing and innovation for more than 10 years. He has lectured around the world, worked closely with top industry authorities, and guided many of Israel's leading innovative startups and companies as director of marketing agency that he founded. Although Ahron is tech enthusiast, he also has personal passions such as photography, playing music, drinking coffee, and trying to solve the Rubik's Cube. All right, welcome to the show, Ahron.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. How are you today?
Great. Yes, so good to have you on the show. So this show is based on my new bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And this year we have had every situation.
There is no doubt that this year has brought upon tremendous cyclical stories of that nature.
Yes, and so I'd love to start with maybe you sharing a story about your own personal journey through a rock bottom or tough situation in your business or personal life and how you got back on track.
Yeah, well, let's do that. Look, I wasn't always in marketing and I wasn't always in business, but I was always in the business of people. For a very long time, I've been working with organizations and companies and teaching leadership and administration. And I worked all around the world in a whole variety of different places, and I loved it. It was fantastic. And then about 12 years ago, my family and I decided that it was time to make the shift from living in cozy California to coming out to Tel Aviv, Israel. And so we're here. And then, as all good people do when they transition countries, is, hey, I've been doing, the same thing for who knows how long. Now it's time to start something totally new. Mm-hmm. So I've always been a creative fanatic. I love the idea of just, thinking things through and strategy building and, helping people understand problems from the root down, and all the way through. So I decided that it was time. I wanted to get into advertising and marketing. So, like all good people do, it was time to rebrand, and why not? So I started working with a few different companies in their marketing department, and things were going great. And then I realized while working at one particular organization that I realized two very important things about me right now. Is that, number one, there is a huge growing need for social media marketing. Mm-hmm. And number two is that the position that I'm in right now has no room for growth. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I've always been on the entrepreneurial side of things. I've always been on the business, let's go do this kind of thing. And where I was, it was stifling. So I decided, okay, it's time. We're starting new. Let's go. I'm getting out there. There's a crazy need for social media marketing. I'm starting my own business, right? Like all good people do. And the vision that you have when you do that is, yes, I'm going to hit the ground. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to run. It's going to be crazy successful super quickly. And like all good businesses and all good realities, that was not the case. And so I found myself with a desire to succeed, but with no business, no clients, no clue what I needed to do. And I'm sitting at my dining room table with a laptop, and that's all I have right now, right? I working in, where I was and transitioning through, I didn't have much of a nest egg to rely on at that point, and I had a family to take care of. And I found myself night after night after night sitting at my dining room table with no other resources than a computer. And I said, this can't be. Like, it's not supposed to be like this. Like, the dream is you grow big. The dream is you have something successful. And it wasn't working. And I said, okay, I gotta figure this out. And so with literally zero resources to my name, zero, I decided that I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to understand people, and I'm going to sell my ability to understand people to help other people. And so I built myself a website. Standard run-of-the-mill, nothing fancy website, and I'm starting Glazer marketing, and I'm going to do this. And so I plugged and I plugged and I built myself a website, and I sent out an email to every single person that I know. And I said, I am so excited to tell you my new transition, and I'm starting this new business. I'm not looking for new clients, but if you want to talk marketing, let's talk. And I got a bite. I did. I got a bite, and I was like, oh, okay, we can do this, right? And it's just me at my dining room table and just a computer, and I don't have anything else in the world right now to help me support this. But if this doesn't work, I don't know what else I'm going to do. So I said, great, let's do it, and let's start talking. And I just started talking with one person after another, and then in a matter of weeks, I had my first client. And it was nothing. It was a small nothing client. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, but you know what? It's a start. And if it's going to start now, it's going to start, and let's go. And I started this thing where I was managing social media profiles for people and their businesses. That was it. It was a growing need. People knew they needed to do it. They didn't know anything else about it. And I'm like, I can do it, right? And my approach to it at the time was, let me just find any random crap that I could find online and just put it out on your social media, and I'll tell you that it fits, but like, we'll have a good rapport, so it'll be good. And I started this, and I was like, as I was doing that, I'm like, this isn't right, like, this is not working. Like, I gotta do it differently. And so I changed my approach. And what I started to do was I started to really invest in the people that I was talking to and the businesses that I was working with. Mm-hmm. And when you start to understand the needs and the wants of what people want on a human level, then you understand how to provide this second step. And so I took that and I sold that. And then I had, and I went from one client to two clients, and I went from 2 clients to 4 clients, and from 4 clients, and it's just slowly started to grow. And then before I knew it, I was managing social media profiles, for businesses and for individuals. And then I was also building out strategies for people about how to use the platforms and what that meant. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that I had someone working with me. I was like, okay, like now, like I couldn't do it anymore. So I hired my first person, and I said, and I was like, and I'm slowly growing, and I'm just helping people with their social media. But I realized that when you focus on the human to human component about how to grow business, and you have a drive, it's not so much a drive to succeed. Right. And there's a difference. We could talk about that at a different time. But when you have a drive to succeed, there's a lot more there. And so I honestly, I worked really hard, late nights, early mornings, full days. I worked really hard. And that social media marketing piece that I had slowly grew into a strategy and development consultation business, mm-hmm. slowly grew into a digital marketing agency, mm-hmm. Where I had multiple staff. And then before I knew it, I was working with clients in 8 countries across spectrums of industry, everywhere from tech companies to SaaS companies to medical companies, finance companies. It was amazing. And I realized that, that the reason that we were able to really take it to that point is because at the end of the day, when you understand the people that you're working with and you understand the wants, and you're able to tap into, well, how do we do that differently now, and how do we help you understand your need and not just say do something for me, but really get to the heart of it. And you remember, and this is even pivotal today, where through the whole Corona opportunity, like we could talk about that later, but you realize that at the end of the day is that people are people, and if your business understands your audience, you're going to get somewhere. And today, I run an international business. We have clients all over the place, but the heart and soul of our business has stayed the same. It's understand who you're working with, really get to the heart of it, and really just like maximize the creativity and the tools that we could benefit out there. And we're going strong, and it's been fantastic so far.
That's wonderful. So if you're listening in right now, this year you may also have been stuck at home looking at your computer trying to figure out, what the heck do I do? How do I create a business or recreate a business because of the pandemic? And so this is a wonderful story of success on how not giving up, stick to
For sure.
All that.
And
yes, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm sorry to cut you off. But what's so important to understand is that people think if you're going to start a business, I have to have all these things. I have to have an infrastructure. I have to have an office. I have to have a car. I have to have a this. I have to have that. And and the reality is, all you need is you are your best resource. Mm-hmm. And as long as you invest in that resource, and just keep reinvesting in that resource again and again and again, then that's all you need to really push your business forward. And don't wait till you have it all. Just start now and just make the best of it to get to where you have to go.
Yeah. So there's a lot of course corrections that happen when you're starting a new business, because you're learning, like you said, people first. When you're really focused on your clients, you are going to course correct. I mean, years ago, I had gift stores, started when I was 23, didn't have a clue what I was doing, paying $5,000 a month for $1 a square foot for a 5,000 square foot store. And I had 6 months free rent to figure it out. That's what I had negotiated. I was good at negotiating even back then. And I hired a marketing agency only for 3 months because I had no clue. And I redesigned everything in the store. I learned about working with other companies so they would pay for my ads. And I ended up not only doing well in that store, but I ended up having 4 more buildings that I bought as gift stores. And I had 200 kids go through my store as training, coming out of like foster care. They were at-risk youth, and they went through a training program the government sponsored for me to run through my gift stores, because we wanted to give these kids an opportunity. So it was people first, always. And it made such a difference. And the marketing piece, once, I needed a few other things. I had to hire a CPA, that kind of thing, especially at 23, I was rounding all the numbers. You mean you can't do that? So
what do you mean?
Yeah, so I had to learn. And the funny thing was, the marketing, putting the people first, and then the marketing was key to success. And then the proceeds from that one building that I was renting, I said, you know what, I don't kind of like this. I want to buy my other buildings because the mortgage is going to be almost the same. And that's what I did. And
that's great.
It was my exit strategy, because later when I got tired of it, and I adopted 3 children, had 3 of my own. So now I've got 6 kids. And I said, this is like 14 hours a day. I'm kind of done with it. So, with all these kids, I just can't. And so then I was able to rent the buildings out and make the same, and over time more, as I built equity and it paid itself off. And it was passive income. It all started with the people first, and then the marketing. So that really helps. It really does. Now, Ahron, since you're so focused on marketing, I'd love for you to share some advice for those people just starting out that are trying to figure out what to do or how to do it, even the social media marketing, and they don't really know what they're doing wrong. They're doing that thing where they're just putting something on there every day to try to like connect with people. What suggestions do you have?
So I have a lot of suggestions. The first thing I would tell you is don't try to create viral content. It doesn't happen. Okay. Viral content happens on its own. And if you're going to try to, everything that you're going to put out is going to be, it's got to be, the best of everything that's going to be, you're not going to get there. Number one. Number two is that as an individual who's hosting social media content and marketing content, is you have to understand and remember that it's okay to not be the expert all the time. If you get on social media and you just start preaching whatever you think is right without any context or understanding of what's happening, people are not going to listen, because they're going to realize very quickly that you are just a person who is talking for the sake of talking, but not for the sake of listening and understanding, right? So really take some time to understand who your audience is and what they want from you, right? Whenever we start working with a new client, right, we always ask them, what do you want your audience to know about you? And what do you want your audience to do? Yeah. And depending on what those answers are, then we'll create the path and the tools in order to help them get to that point. The last thing that I would encourage people is that social media plays a very pivotal role in people's business. And today, more and more and more and more, if you're not actively part of it, then you're falling behind, okay? It is a platform for being social, hence the name, right? Social media, it's the name. What you want to do is, your website has all the information of who your company is. It's the start of your story, okay? Your website is your place for you to tell people who you are, what you do, and why they should work with you. And it's a very formalized, very, upfront, in your face reading of who we are and what we do, and that's that. The role of social media is to fill in the gaps for all the things that your website does not tell you. Okay, it's the stories, it's the interactions, it's the engagement, right? It's the process of all the things that are happening that make your business real. Mm-hmm. And the more that people can appreciate and resonate with the reality of your business, right? Because you understand them, right? Whether you're an individual who's, just starting out, or if you have a small business and you're representing the company, right? And you're talking off from the brand, it doesn't matter. What matters is your voice and appreciation for the people that you're interacting with. Don't ever lose focus on your audience. They're your biggest advocates. Without them, you don't have a business. If they don't like you and they don't like your process, they won't buy from you. If they don't trust you, they're not buying from you. And so you want to utilize your social media channels to be able to tell them all the things that your website does not tell them, to fill in the gaps that really helps them connect with your brand and with your story. And bottom line is, especially now, like when we're in this pandemic of a world, and the entire world is upside down, don't forget that you're not in it by yourself. Everyone is doing it. And so if you can appreciate the needs of the people on the other side of your brand and relate to it and connect with it and, talk about it and invite people into that conversation with you that's relevant for your brand, we're in a community, okay? We're building community, and that's what brands do. They build communities of supporters, advocates, buyers, etc. They're going to be the ones that are going to buy. The bottom line is, don't ever lose focus on the human-to-human element of your business. Even if you're an individual, if you're a company or a small business, it doesn't matter. Don't lose that. And then what you want to use the tools, right, in order to impact them. Now, the tools are all of your marketing resources. It's your website, your social media. If you're running ads, you had content, if you're making videos, these are all tools, okay? And don't kill me for saying this, but everyone uses the same tools. Everyone is doing the exact same thing. So the part that's going to set you apart from using these tools is to think first. Okay. Think about, when you actively think about, what do I want my audience to know, and what do I want my audience to do? And then you build your strategy for social media and content and videos and your website and promotion, all those things around those two questions. You'll see that you won't just be another voice in the industry, but you'll be a voice that people understand and resonate with, and will say, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. I'm going to gravitate towards that one and not that one because they seem to be paying attention to me. So that's that. I don't know if that answered your question, but
Very helpful. Yes, I think it really does make a difference, and to figure out what's working, what's not working. It's going to take a lot of trial and error. So don't be afraid. It doesn't have, like you said, you don't have to go viral tomorrow. You don't have to have everything perfect. Sometimes people are trying so hard to be perfect that they lose the human connection. They're like, well, there's some perfect person. I can't relate to that perfect person. Right. I always say, I love my wildly imperfect, beautiful, authentic life. It is as imperfect as it can get, but we all do the best we can. And that makes all the difference. It's not about being perfect. It's about giving back and adding value to your clients and actually caring person to person. That's going to make a huge difference in everything you're doing. And I think the other thing that I have found, it sounds like you found your passion also. And that's something that it has to be something you want to do. Don't just do something for, sometimes we have to roll up our sleeves and go take a job that isn't maybe aligned. And then it's, who are we being in all we're doing, of course. But really, when you want to build your own business or side gig until you can grow that business, which takes time, it's something you want to get into where it's actually something you care about the people, you care about the process, and you actually wake up in the morning and you love what you're going to do each day. That really helps.
Absolutely. But I just got to add to that is, you could love what you do all you want, and you could have every intention to want to help everyone, but you have to couple it with also being good at what you do. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to hone your craft, because you can have, right. You can be chatting with a client every day, every week with your client check-ins. You have the best conversations. You know everything about them. You know how many pets they have and where they vacation and what their favorite food is. And you might know all these great things. And then in a month and a half, they're going to call you up and say, hey, I'm really sorry, but we're done. And you're going to be like, you're going to be sideswiped. Really? Why are we done? We're so great. Because, well, you're great to talk to, but you haven't done anything to help our business. Yes, exactly. And so you have to be able to couple the intention of wanting to help and support, but also make sure that you're always honing in your skills. You're always learning. You're always part of the process, and you're always exploring new opportunities to find success, both within yourself, but also within, for the sake of the client. And it's that combo that will keep you working with the same clients for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yes, it's producing the results. And that it's kind of interesting, because I've worked with clients myself where they're producing results in one area and they're doing it for free. And then they're trying to work in another area and they're not making a living really. And I'm like, wait, you know what? Why don't you just go do what you're already producing these free results for everyone? You can actually get paid for that. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. Really? I love doing that. You can't stop me from doing that. That makes a big difference. And sometimes
you're right.
We're told from a young age, you need to go be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever your parents wanted you to be, or you went to school and they put you in this track or that track for whatever work, and they said that's what you're supposed to do. And yet you're you can already see your talents that you really do produce results in are already showing up every day. You just need to figure out how to pay your bills with that. And then you're like,
absolutely
having fun every day. And fun doesn't mean it's not a heck of a lot of work. Building a brand is not a day. I'm sorry, it is not even a week. It is like a few years. I remember that gift store. I opened that store 6 months before I started to get some positive cash flow in it. And people were like, oh, there's a store here. Wow. But the first day I opened, I had balloons. Like 4 customers came in. I could have been like, damn, this is not working out, everybody. Let's just go home, give up. But I said, no, I need to make some changes. I need to stay the course because I'm in a 5-year lease. So I'm like stuck and I don't want to ruin my credit. And back in the day, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. But it was a long process and people will not even know you're in the industry.
Correct. And we don't live in a world anymore where the only professions are doctors, lawyers, and finance people, right? We live in a world today where there's a plethora of opportunities across the spectrum. And what people don't tend to understand or realize is the difference between a hobby and what I love to do and my business. And the truth is that if there's something that you love to do, you could monetize that, right? You might not know how to monetize it, and that's a different question. But absolutely, you could monetize that. If you're a chef and you love cooking, right? There are so many ways that you could create a brand and sell that service. If even though it's a hobby and it's a passion, there's so much opportunity that you can do with that. And I would encourage so many people to remember that that the variety and opportunity of success today is unlimited, right? If there's something that you're excited about and there's something that you want to do and you have a voice that you want to share in that, so there are, you're the perfect person to talk about this, right? Read your book. Everyone, right? Call you up, right? Say, Sheila, tell me, give me. There are so many things that you can do, right? And that don't ever forget that, that you could merge your passions with success and opportunity.
Exactly. I mean, getting into real estate was kind of a complete switch, but it made sense to get my license because I started buying these buildings and I wanted to save the commissions and get the access to this MLS. And in the United States, we have MLS. And I wanted to do that and get all the training because I thought, well, why am I going to pay this person so much? And I'm the one spending all the hours doing the research anyway, because I'm very invested in what I'm going to put my money into. And so I did that. The next thing you know, I was guiding all the other store owners in the shopping parks to buy their own buildings.
That's great.
The ones that did, guess what? They had an exit strategy. And the ones that didn't, when the business shifted, they didn't have anything. So they were completely different industries, but it was really the same thing. And then it was this leadership thing that I'm doing training and leadership and helping people. I still teach an online course this many years later. I have a daughter who's 24. So it's been a while since I was 23. And so with that, it's just, I'm still doing that, but I don't go to every home or commercial building. I just teach other people and lead a team that way. And I have fun with it, but it's not my main thing. But
well, let me ask you a question. What was the transitional point for you? In other words, what was that switch that happened in your mind that said, okay, I'm going from this to this? And then what was that process like for you? How did that go?
Well, for me, I realized, okay, I decided I wanted to go back to college and get a business degree after the fact that I was running gift stores. And so I had these little children, my babies, and at some point, 6 kids are too much. And I thought I really want to spend time with them. And so I decided, well, let me take a class. I'm sitting in this economics class and the professor discusses opportunity cost. And I do the math and I'm like, whoa, I could make the same amount of money and not do all the work running this gift store. Holy smokes. And I actually helped all my employees get another job and we had a great transition It was back when we barely started going online with things.
Right.
And they said the future is that retail is going to be online. It's taken a while to really get there. And so that was my transition. The minute I did those numbers, I was done. I was like out the next day.
Wow.
You know, so
Was that scary for you?
not, I was still pretty young. And
so you were fearless or stupid, one or the other, but it was great.
I was actually, most of the buildings were paid for through the store. So I owned them. So I could sell them. I had like many different strategies. I could rent them out. And when I realized how much I could rent them out for without doing all this work, now that they were pretty much paid off, then what was I going to do? I could go, and I went back to school and I got a teaching degree as a Waldorf teacher and a Montessori teacher at first. Wow. And then I was teaching at my kids' schools that were private, and they got to go there free because I wanted all my kids to be near me. And I did that for many years, and the side business of real estate. And that was more than enough. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's really inspiring. Look, you talk about getting out and doing it and just pushing that card and doing what you got to do. And it's clear. Look, it's not easy. The road to business and entrepreneurship is not easy, but when you are consistent and persistent, the benefits can really pay off. I hear that. That's fantastic.
I think that the other thing is that not everybody is disciplined to be the entrepreneur or run the business by themselves, and they need more structure. And that's where they may want to look into franchise or other investments that could work where there's more guidelines.
Yeah.
Not really. It's just like you think about some of my college kids, actually the dorms are closed. So I have two homes and one has so much structure. She was born with structure, and the boy, no structure. And so he was getting all A's at school, and now it's C's, and it's a struggle because he has to be more self-disciplined. And so that is the difference between if it's a good fit for you or not, or what kind of a business would work for you. And that's where like the SBA, Small Business Administration, helps out with lots of guides. I have lots of resources. So check out and do your homework and try out before you leave something Like I have cash flow coming in from everything. So I was okay with making the jump, and I was making commission. So I already started to see the benefits, and the math was like, okay, I'm done. Time to go. Next. What's more? But it just, you have to have something to jump to. Don't go
for
tomorrow and say, I'm going to start a business, because it's going to take even if you get into real estate, which is great for some people full time. If you do that, it's going to take 6 months for a year for people to know, even your own family, to realize that you are a real estate agent now. That's it.
I wish someone would have told that to me when I started. I was just young and stupid. I'm like, I could do this for sure. But I kind of feel like that drive to, I have to succeed, component really was the pushing factor. And you're talking about, understanding structure and stuff like that. When I used to teach leadership and management, one of the big things that we talk about is the understanding of ourself and our strengths and our weaknesses. And you have to be super cognizant and aware of your strengths, and even more so of your weaknesses. And when you're building a team of people, you have to, you have to build a team of people who complement your weaknesses with their strengths. Now, I've made that mistake before, right? I love people, and I look for the best in people. And part of that has led me to hire the wrong people, because I like them. They're nice guys. They'd be my friends. We'll have a good time. And then we work together, and there's no balance. It's just like a lot of the same thing happening. And I said, no, we can't do this anymore. So I started this thing where I hire people that I don't like. It's like, when we have an interview, we go through them. I look at them. I'm like, can we be friends? I'm like, I don't think so. Done. You got the job. Let's go. Let's do, let's do this. But being cognizant of your strengths and your weaknesses like that in order to help you find that structure, I completely agree with you. It's super important.
Yes, and I bought my first triplex when I was 18. I was a weird kid. I graduated college at 15, and I was in foster care when I was young. So there's this whole backstory in the book. But with all that, I thought I was a grown-up, so I went ahead and bought a triplex, and it was a fixer.
Wow.
And I remember the neighbor came over and said, welcome. He also owned a bunch of property. And he said, welcome to the club. And I said, what club? And he says, you're in the club now where you can't be friends with your tenants. And I was like, I'm like, I love my tenants. These are they cannot be your friends. You've got to have all this, arm's length and legal. And maybe you have to give them a notice. You got to do. And I was like, oh, and I was really sad. At that young age, I was really crushed with that reality. Yeah. You can help people, but you can't be everybody's friend because
Correct.
Whatever position you're in. It's just like when you're a parent, you can't be your kid's friend. Really, you need to be a parent sometimes. You got to put on the parent hat and be like, no, you can't go out. You can't do that. That's not safe. And so that's the line. I had to learn that really young, and I know it was hard for me, and I did not hire a lot of family because that neighbor was such a smart guy. He told me, Mr. Drew, he said, don't hire your family, don't hire your friends. I promise you it never ends well. And the few that I did hire, they were like the ones that always called out, and they kind of took advantage, and I had to stop that.
Also, don't forget that at the end of the day, it's your business that's on the line. And at the end of the day, you're the responsible one to make sure it succeeds, because you're in business for that. You're not running a charity. You know what I mean? So if you're hiring people and you're hiring a staff to work with you, they have to be able to pull their weight to hit the goals that you're looking to achieve. And, and sometimes you have to make tough calls, and it's hard. It's really hard to make that tough call with someone that you genuinely care about, for forever. And not to say that it can't work out between friends and family working together. Whenever I talk with a friend or family member who wants help from me or vice versa, I always start off by saying to them, I said, look, our relationship is way more important to me than this business in this moment. Right. I said, and if it ever comes to a point where something is happening between us, I would rather keep the relationship than the business for you.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. But I don't have that conversation with everybody, because if I did, I wouldn't have a business. So, and so you have to be able to, for the sake of your business, you have to be able to make tough calls and do what you have to do to keep that flowing forward.
Now I had learned this thing called preeminence. Somehow I learned, I don't know where I got it from, but we had to show up. I had all the people that worked for me had little outfits that matched, and this is a 23, 24-year-old by this time that we all had matching shirts. I hired kids. I worked with Job Training Partnership Act, was a government training program. And I made a deal with them, and I had the old camcorder, and we would film I told every person that came in, you are going to be me. And this is how I want it done. This is how you're going to do it. You're going to give the bag this way. You're going to even emptying the trash. I mean, it was from and they learned every aspect. Now that was fully funded.
That's amazing.
Fully funded. I did not pay workers' comp. I didn't pay anything, but I put in a lot of extra time. We did field trips to the mall to watch how people sold. We had breakfasts a couple times a week. We had team meetings. Everybody got to contribute and give their ideas. And sometimes they were wrong, wrong field or whatever. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, you can design, you can decorate you do the store display. And so they would learn, these young kids would learn who they were.
I love it.
And then the top salespeople I hired were these women I had a back room, and these women had babies, but they worked at like Nordstrom's, all these big stores. And I'd go befriend them, and I'd say, "Hey, I could pay you minimum wage, but I have 2 nannies, and the park is across the street. In the back of the shopping park across the way is a park. So if you want daycare nannies and your babies to be right there, and some flex time for when you need it, I want a top salesperson."
I love that.
My top manager was a social worker that had gotten into sales, and she was my social worker for those kids.
I love that.
More money than all the other stores. And so it's have fun. It was me having fun. It wasn't
right.
It was, yes, I had to pay that rent. $5,000 a month when you're 23 years old. This is a long time ago. That was like $10,000. A lot of money. It was a lot. And I was like, it's a miracle. And so that's something you have to learn. But if you have a little bit of fun, the clients, people would come in and have fun.
It's true. Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, it is. Look, hiring the right people matters, and we live in an industry now where a lot of companies are looking for hard skills. We need you to fit in this hole and only that hole. And I look, we work with a lot of different clients and businesses, and I tell them all the time, I said, when you're hiring, don't underestimate the soft skills of an individual. Hard skills could be learned pretty quickly. What can't be learned are the soft skills, the personalities, the attitudes, the team, the camaraderie, the teamwork, that stuff, the enthusiasm, right? Those things that can't be taught, and that you should never underestimate, because as you said exactly, your best workers might be the ones who were not trained for the specific role that you're hiring for. When we hire people from our side, right, the very first question we ask them is, well, what do you want to do? What are your strengths? How do you see yourself applying to this company? And then we think about it. We say, can we use those skills in our company for the jobs that we're looking to, that we need to fill, or that we can create, right? Because when you have a team of amazing people who really can work well together, the success opportunity will fly through the roof.
Yes. And that does make all the difference. So that's a whole, just hiring people. Think about it. Whether you work for someone else or you go somewhere to a place of business, if there's somebody that comes in with negative energy, the whole energy in the whole place drops. And then if somebody comes in and they're positive and they're good, they could be the leader of the company and they're the janitor, because they're with this beautiful energy. And so that make all the difference. You want to make sure to keep the good energy. And it's not a good fit. If it's not a good fit and not happy there, they really need to go.
Right.
And
please.
One of my rules was, especially with the kids, I was like, and really with everyone, I did have a lot of flex time because I had so many employees that I was able to do that. And so I would say, this is the rule. If you do not want to be here today because you need to take care of a child or you have to go do something else, I don't really care what it is. I'm not going to pay you. Just don't show up. Let me know in advance and go do whatever you need to do, because the clients will feel that you don't want to be there, and they won't buy. And that's the reality. So
that's right. Look, we remind our clients all the time, right? Because we talk a lot about branding and what a brand means. And there's a big misconception about what people think a brand is. People think your brand is your logo and your website. Okay. And that's not true, right? That's an aspect of your brand, right? But your brand goes way beyond that. Your brand is when someone says your name and what do they think and feel, that's part of your brand, right? When your brand is when they call your company for the first time and the person talks to them on the phone, that's part of your brand, right? And so when you're building your brand, one of the things you really have to work hard at is making sure that everyone on your team buys into and can sell the value that you're willing to settle for your brand, right? I set a goal for what my brand is supposed to be, and I need everyone on my team to be that, because if you have a small business, right, and part of your business is you have a truck and you're out making deliveries every day, that delivery person is part of your brand, whether you like it or not. That's part of your brand. And if he or she is not doing well or interacting with the customers or creating problems, that's a problem for your brand. And so you're right. When you're building out your brand structure, every single component, every single cog in that wheel matters, because it's all part of your brand. And having that right attitude and the right representative and the right person interacting with your clients when you need to, you need them all in top shape all the time, because your business and your brand will depend on the people that you hire and how they represent you.
That is so true. I mean, I think about my brand new MacBook Pro that I bought 2 months ago, got overheated and just fried itself. And I'm Sheila Mac. Like, I gotta have a Mac. I can't have a PC. So I called them up and I had to go into the shop. Everybody was so nice and so helpful. And I brought everything else in, and they actually gave me extra time. They took care of my phone, my other computer that I'm on now. I'm still waiting for the other one to be either rebuilt, or they said they'll send me a new one. And so, and so that, but they were so nice that at the end of my visit, I wasn't upset. I was like, okay, this is great, because I know if I had a different computer that I bought somewhere else, they would have been like, tough, go buy a new one. They don't have the service that, I have the Apple Care, I have insurance. If anything goes wrong, they're going to replace it or fix it. And so that's a brand. That's correct. A brand. You want to decide what kind of brand you want. I mean, I had people at my store. The rule was every single customer, every single client that walks in here is treated like royalty. I don't care if they spend 10 cents or zero, and they'd get free tea, they'd get free cookies, free samples. And the kids would talk to, sometimes there were older people that would come in, because it was the first store was in a community with retired people, and they just wanted to talk. And the kids would listen. they were, and I was like, you just need to listen, and then they'll buy. Right. They were my clients that in the summertime, they would come in every other day and spend $20 to $40. Well, like that. And they were getting therapy, I guess, talk therapy back in the day before they invented that. But that's the thing, and they felt welcome.
For sure. Look, it's crazy important, and you talked about it, and it's absolutely right. We have a policy by us, right? Is that, look, we have our price list and our packages of ways that we help businesses and and companies, and sometimes we take flexible. We make a flexible proposal. If someone can't handle the full package, they need like a customized, more in line with their budget, no problem, right? The tendency sometimes is, well, you're paying me less, so we're going to get, we're going to give you less attention. Mm-hmm. And the rule in our business, I don't care who they are, whether they're not paying a thing or they're paying a little bit or a lot. If we agree to have a working relationship and partnership with them, they get our full attention as if they're our top client. It doesn't matter if once you're in the door, you're in the door, because your brand matters, right? And any person, any client could be your biggest ambassador for your brand, and you don't know who they are, you don't know the reaches, and it doesn't matter, because if you're building a business of honesty and transparency, where the people are, the people come first, and that's what is building your brand, you have to be able to deliver on that, right? That's your promise. You have to deliver on that. And when we coach businesses that are rebranding themselves, okay, we always start from the bottom, the very, very bottom, and say, okay, let's start with your infrastructure. Let's start with your people. Let's start, before we even get to their product or service, we go through their entire company, their entire business, to really get a hold and let them really understand, what does a brand mean? Yes. And how can you, if you're really looking to rebrand it for success, so what does that mean for you, and how can you lay the right bricks to build the best building you possibly can with this brand? And, you know, and we go through it, and like, it's so important. It's so important.
I love that. And I think it's really important. Now we are coming to the end of our talking time here for this interview. So I'd love for you to share how people can actually connect with your company and get some marketing help and get started.
Sure. So we offer, firstly, so the name of our company is Executive Media Solutions. We work with a whole variety of businesses, local and abroad. You can reach us at executivemedia.co. Not .com, .co. And, or you could reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. You know, my name is written out here. You know, feel free to reach out to me. It's important to us that the people we work with understand what we do and the value we could contribute. So we offer free brand assessments. We offer, you know, free consultations on the phone if you have questions, if you want to know something and you just want to talk. So let us know. We're happy to share with you what you need in order to be able to take the right steps forward, right? We're in the business of helping businesses succeed, and I love that, right? I love meeting the people. I love getting to be a part of their success, and I love being part of these amazing projects that so many of these wonderful businesses are doing. So we're happy to help you. You know, just reach out to us, whether on our website, reach out to me personally, and let's have a conversation. Let's talk.
All right. All right. Thank you again for being on the show, Ahron, and we will be back after these messages.
Have a great day. Thank you.